Business Essentials Podcast. Unlock your career.
Learn to speak business English like a pro.
Hey everyone, welcome back. I'm Marcus, and today we're talking about delivering bad news without destroying trust. You know that feeling when someone tells you something terrible, and afterward all you remember is how they made you feel? That's what we're unpacking today, and fair warning, we're going to pick up some really useful business English throughout this episode. Definitely listen for those phrases if you're at B2 to C1 level. Sarah, let's jump right in. Why is delivering bad news such a challenge?
Well, Marcus, here's what's surprising. 91% of professionals believe that delivering bad news is critically important, but only 40% feel they have adequate training to do it effectively. Most people just wing it, and the results can be devastating.
Wait, only 40% have training?
Only 40%. And 70% of employees actively avoid difficult conversations altogether. This creates what we call a culture of silence around critical workplace issues.
So people know they should address problems, but they just don't?
That's right. There's a psychological reason for this. It's called the mum effect. People experience anxiety about being the messenger of bad news because they fear the emotional reaction, damaging the relationship, or being blamed for the problem itself.
For our listeners learning English, what does mum effect actually mean?
MUM stands for keeping mum about undesirable messages. It's the psychological tendency to avoid sharing bad news because we don't want to deal with the discomfort. In everyday language, we'd say people clam up or stay silent when they should be speaking up.
So we avoid the conversation because we're uncomfortable?
Right. But avoiding the conversation doesn't make the problem go away. It just makes the eventual conversation harder and damages trust.
So what's actually happening in someone's brain when they hear bad news?
When people receive unexpected negative information without warning, their amygdala, the brain's threat detection system, activates in panic mode. It floods the body with cortisol and adrenaline, triggering a fight-or-flight response.
So they literally go into survival mode?
Literally. And while their nervous system is in panic mode, they cannot process information rationally. Their prefrontal cortex essentially shuts down. So if you blurt out bad news without warning, the person isn't capable of hearing what you're saying for the first 15 to 30 seconds.
That's fascinating. So they need time to prepare?
They need just 3 to 5 seconds of warning. A simple phrase like, "I'm afraid I have some difficult news to share with you," gives their brain time to shift from automatic threat response to conscious processing mode.
Can you give me that phrase exactly as you'd say it?
Sure. "I'm afraid I have some difficult news to share with you." Then you pause for 2 to 3 seconds before continuing. That pause is critical. It allows their nervous system to brace itself.
So native speakers would say, "I'm afraid," instead of just, "I have bad news"?
Yes, because "I'm afraid" softens it slightly while still signaling difficulty. If you just say, "I have bad news," it can sound too blunt and trigger an even stronger panic response.
Okay, so what do most people get wrong? Give me an example.
Imagine you need to tell an employee their position is being eliminated. Bad approach. You send an email saying, "Hi Jennifer, due to restructuring, your position is being eliminated effective immediately. Please contact HR for your severance package. Thanks."
Ouch, that's pretty harsh.
It's brutal. First, it's delivered via email, a terrible medium for serious bad news. Second, no warning. She opens what looks routine and gets blindsided. Third, it's rushed and transactional.
And that backfires?
Completely. Research shows that when people receive badly delivered news, they're significantly more likely to disengage, spread negative information, or pursue legal action.
So what's the right way?
You schedule a private, in-person meeting. You say, "Jennifer, thank you for meeting with me. I'm afraid I have some difficult news to share. Your position is being eliminated as part of a department restructuring. This is not about your performance. You've done excellent work. This is a strategic decision about our company direction."
Oh wow, that's so different.
Right. You've provided context, separated her performance from the decision, and used clear language. Then you'd continue. "I know this is really difficult, and I want to make sure you have the support you need. Let me walk you through what happens next."
So you're acknowledging the emotional reality?
That's the key psychological principle, validation. When you acknowledge someone's emotions as legitimate and understandable, their defensive reactions drop by up to 60%.
How would you use validation in a real conversation?
Instead of saying, "Don't be upset," or "It's not that bad," which invalidates their feelings, you'd say something like, "I can see this is really distressing for you, and that makes complete sense given the circumstances."
So you're not trying to fix their emotions, just acknowledging them?
You're validating that their emotional response is understandable. That creates psychological safety and allows them to move through the emotion rather than getting stuck in it.
What's another common mistake?
Using technical language or jargon to hide behind. A doctor might say, "Unfortunately, your pathology report indicates a malignant neoplasm with stage 4 metastatic potential, requiring immediate oncological intervention."
I barely understood that.
That's the point. The doctor is using medical jargon as a defense mechanism. It creates emotional distance, but also leaves the patient confused and anxious.
So what should they say instead?
Clear, simple language. "Your test results show you have cancer that has spread to other parts of your body. We need to start treatment as soon as possible." Then pause and follow up with, "Let me explain what that means and what we'll do next."
That's much clearer, but also harder to say.
It is harder because you're not hiding behind technical language, but research shows simple language increases patient comprehension by 80% and satisfaction by 65%.
Give me a real-world scenario. What would this look like in practice?
Imagine you need to tell your team their project is being canceled after 6 months of work. Bad approach. "Hey everyone, upper management has decided to pivot our strategic priorities, which means we're sunsetting the beta project. You'll all be reassigned. Any questions?"
And what happens?
The team is shocked, confused, and angry. They hear vague corporate speak that doesn't actually tell them what's happening.
So what's the right approach?
Team, I need to share some difficult news. The beta project is being canceled, effective next week. This means 6 months of your work won't move forward, and I know that's incredibly frustrating. This decision came from senior leadership based on budget constraints, not because of anything you did wrong. Your work was excellent. Let me explain what happens next for each of you.
So you're being direct.
Direct, but also acknowledging the emotional impact. You're saying, "Canceled," because that's what actually happened.
Let's talk about the framework. How should someone structure this conversation?
There's a proven framework called SPIKES used in healthcare, but applies to any difficult conversation. It stands for setting, perception, invitation, knowledge, emotions, and strategy.
Start with setting.
Setting is about preparation. Choose a private space where interruptions won't occur. Eliminate distractions, and allocate adequate time, at least 30 to 45 minutes for serious bad news.
What's perception?
Understanding what the person already knows before you deliver the news. You ask, "What's your sense of how things have been going?" This prevents false assumptions.
So you're checking their baseline.
Right. Often they already suspect something's wrong. This validates their intuition and reduces the shock.
What's invitation?
Where you deliver the warning and core information. You say, "I'm afraid I have some difficult news to share." Then deliver the news in 1 to 2 clear sentences using simple language.
And that's where you'd say your position is being eliminated?
Clear, direct, no euphemisms. Then you stop talking and let them process.
What about emotions?
Where you respond to their reaction. Expect silence, crying, anger, or shock. All are normal. You don't try to comfort immediately, you simply sit with their emotion. You might say, "I can see this is really shocking," or "Your reaction makes complete sense."
So you're just being present.
Being present and validating. You're not problem-solving yet. They can't hear solutions while emotions are active.
What's strategy and summary?
The final phase where you provide next steps. You explain what happens from here, what support is available, what the timeline looks like.
Can you give me that language exactly?
Here's what happens from here. You'll meet with HR tomorrow to review your severance package. We've arranged outplacement services to help with your job search. You have until the end of the month in your office. My door is open if you have questions.
So you're providing clear next steps.
Clear, specific next steps. This transforms the conversation from everything is terrible to here's how we move through this together.
What about follow-up?
Follow-up is critical. Check in within 24 to 48 hours. How are you doing with all of this? People remember how you treated them after the news more than the news itself.
Let's do a quick vocabulary recap. What were the main terms?
The main ones were mum effect, validation, amygdala response, and psychological safety. The mum effect is the tendency to avoid sharing bad news. Validation means acknowledging someone's emotions as legitimate.
And the other two?
Amygdala response is the brain's automatic threat detection reaction. It triggers panic mode. Psychological safety means creating an environment where people feel safe to express emotions without judgment.
So our listeners can use these terms when talking about difficult conversations or emotional intelligence in leadership.
These concepts appear constantly in management training, healthcare communication, and organizational psychology.
Before we finish, what's the one thing you want people to take from this episode?
Bad news doesn't have to break trust. How you deliver difficult information can actually strengthen relationships if you approach it with preparation, clarity, validation, and support. If you genuinely care about how the person receives the news and you're willing to sit with their emotional reaction, you'll maintain trust.
Here's what we want from listeners. Think of a difficult conversation you've been avoiding. Spend 20 minutes preparing. What exactly do you need to say? What questions might they ask? How do you want them to feel afterward? Then, have the conversation and notice what shifts.
And if you deliver bad news this week using these principles, tell us what changed. Did the person respond differently? Did preparation reduce your anxiety? We want to hear how these frameworks work in real life.
Thanks for listening, everyone. And Sarah, thanks for breaking this down so clearly.
My pleasure, Marcus. Great conversation.
We'll catch you next time. Business Essentials Podcast. Unlock your career.
Learn to speak business English like a pro.